Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope you have a good day. And it's time to once again return to the subject of the Seattle Seahawks defense. So, they're bad. We know they're bad. I have made multiple videos this week already talking about how they're bad. So, now it's time for me to talk about some solutions to that problem. We can sit here all day and talk about how the defense is really bad right now and how the things we did this offseason to try to build it up are not working, talking about how it's costing us games, talking about how it's going to cost us this season. We can do all that, but it's all just complaining if I don't offer at least some potential solutions. So, in this video, we're actually going to try to figure the problem out. Because, look, objectively, if you take a look at the season so far, the Seahawks have played 3 games. And defensively, one game was good, the Colts game. One game was mixed, the Titans game. The first half in that game was pretty good. The second half was bad, but I think there were a lot of mitigating factors in that second half to where, honestly, I can give them a little bit of pass for that. And then one game was bad, the Vikings. Unfortunately, the way in which that Vikings game was bad, and the fact that that Vikings game was so bad, it just kind of destroys your objectivity. I can't look at this as it's just one game. What I saw in that Vikings game was so obviously bad and so obviously antithetical to both Football 101 and common sense. I can't just go, well, the defense didn't play bad the first 2 games. They had one bad game. It's just one game. I can't do that. I have to look at this defense right now as being bad. And something needs to change, clearly. Because with a new offense, a new offensive system, a new playbook, a new coordinator, a new play caller, all these things we have on the offense, they can't carry us. We need the defense to carry some water here. Maybe a lot of water, but at least some water. And against the Vikings, they didn't carry a thimble. So now that we've complained about it, now that we've pointed out the obvious fact that the defense right now is pretty bad, let's try to figure out what we can do about it. And I have a solution here, potentially, from Matty F. Brown, one of the best follows on Twitter that you can make right now if you're a Seahawks fan. And he has a suggestion that I'm going to dive into a little bit in this video. Okay, so Matty F. Brown on Twitter says the following. This was, I believe, yesterday. Lack of creativity is not the issue on Seahawks defense. They've been trying to do a lot. Little, which means we haven't been doing very much of, drop 7, rush 4, cover 3. Therefore, little chance to develop the chemistry for it. Last year, in that second half of the season, when the Seahawks defense was actually one of the best in the league, they were so basic that they had clear alignment tells. So, in a shocking plot twist, the problem with the Seahawks defense is not that it's too simple right now. Because if you had told me that the Seahawks defense was having problems in 2021 and you gave me no context other than that the defense was bad, my assumption would have been that we must be sitting in the same boring cover 3 on every single play, and opposing defenses know exactly where we're going to be because we never do anything different. So they're just picking us apart because they know where to go. Not the case, not true. And it's shocking to me. I'm really, really surprised by that. I have to be honest and say I did not see it coming. But if you watch the games and if you take a look at some of the analysis that Matty F. Brown does on Twitter, you can go check out his Twitter account if you want to see a more detailed analysis of some of the things this defense has been trying to do in the first 3 games. But it's not the case. They're actually doing a lot of different things. They are bringing some creative blitzes. They are doing some creative coverages. They are mixing things up. They are showing a lot of different looks. It's simply not working. So, in a shocking turn of events, it seems to be that the suggested solution here is to simplify the defense. Make things easy for these players to execute. Drop 7 in coverage, rush 4, and play cover 3. Just keep it nice and simple. Mix it up every now and then. Mix it up sparingly. And keep those little those little mix-ups to simple things. Like, on this play we blitz Jamal Adams. On this play we blitz Bobby Wagner. On this play maybe we blitz Jordan Brooks. Keep it simple. Don't try these convoluted defenses that clearly these players are having a hard time picking up. Because as of right now, we're trying to do these fancy things on defense. We're trying to be creative. And it seems like the players don't have a good understanding of where they're supposed to be or what they're supposed to do from play to play. So, while it's very frustrating that we had to lose a couple games and have the defense look as pitiful as it did on Sunday against the Vikings to figure this out, seems to be the case that for right now, the best thing the Seahawks defense can do is just make things simple. Play a lot of cover 3, rush 4, drop 7, and basically try to let these players not think as much as possible. So, I never thought I would suggest that keeping it simple would be the solution for a bad Seahawks defense under Pete Carroll, but, well, there it is. Let's talk about one aspect specifically of this defense's addiction to complication in these first 3 games, especially this Vikings game, because obviously that's the game where we looked really bad. I went back through that game and took a look at a handful of plays, and I found some things happening on this defense that might clue one in on what is not working right now. And this is something that I don't like in general. It's something that I can remember this defense doing for years, and it's something that seems like never actually works out very well for us. So I've got some screenshots here. We're going to take a look at some plays. Only 4, not that many, but it highlights something that we did against the Vikings a few times, and we've done it in the Titans and Colts games as well, that I think we could be doing basically none of the times. Dropping defensive linemen into coverage. Okay, so this is the first drive of the game for the Minnesota Vikings. They have the ball at around, I believe, the 35. I think this is a 2nd and 10. And just keep an eye on this right up here. You see this right up here, the red circle? This is Alton Robinson. You may notice that Kirk Cousins is dropping back to pass, and Alton Robinson is not rushing the passer. He's not going after the quarterback. He's dropping back into coverage on a running back. And at no point in this play did he ever indicate he was trying to rush the quarterback. Maybe he would have if the running back stayed in to block, but realistically, it seemed like his plan this whole play was to go into coverage. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, Alton Robinson played some linebacker against the Vikings because we had no Benson Mayowa. So, to a certain extent, if you're a linebacker, you're going to have to cover sometimes. So, I will grant that. But here's my thing. Alton Robinson, he might be the best pass rusher on this team. I don't know. I know he's been very efficient and effective through the first 2 games. Didn't exactly do anything great against the Vikings, but Alton Robinson is a guy that I really like. And I think it's pretty clear that he is a defensive end. And his strength is playing the defensive end role, rushing the passer on passing downs and stuffing the run on running downs. So, I know Benson Mayowa was out, but can't you use somebody that isn't Alton Robinson in this role on a pass play? Do you have to drop Alton Robinson into coverage? And again, I get it. He was lined up at linebacker on this play. He was the Sam linebacker. Sam linebackers drop back into coverage on a not rare basis. It happens all the time. But should Alton Robinson, who is a defensive end, has always been a defensive end, and is clearly best as a defensive end, ever be lined up as a linebacker? Shouldn't you be able to find another way to take care of this so you can let Alton Robinson do what he does best? I kind of feel like the answer to that is yes. You're taking one of your best, most destructive pass rushers out of pass rushing to cover when I seriously doubt he's very good at covering. That's not his game. It will probably never be his game. So you're taking your players out of position to do what they do best. Okay, we're going to take a look at another play later, same drive. This is the Vikings' first touchdown of the game. Kirk Cousins drops back to pass. You can see he's about to release the ball. What do you notice? What's weird here? I see Alton Robinson dropping back into coverage in the left flat, and I see Carlos Dunlap dropping back into coverage on the right flat. So you have Alton Robinson, one of your 2 potentially really good young pass rushers along with Darrell Taylor, and you have Carlos Dunlap, your most experienced and possibly still best overall pass rusher, not rushing the passer. This is a second and goal situation, I believe. There's I can't think of any reason for deception or trickery. I don't know why you think that would work in this situation. So, look, Kirk Cousins got the ball out really fast here. There was no way the pass rusher was going to get to him either way. I'm not going to act like this is why we gave up a touchdown on this play. But look at this. You've got your best, most experienced pass rusher and one of your two young, high potential, high upside pass rushers who's been really effective so far this year, rushing the passer, not rushing the passer. Okay, let's jump forward to the second half here. Here's another example of what I'm talking about here. Carlos Dunlap again. This is a play just past midfield. I think this is the first drive coming out of halftime for the Vikings. And Kirk Cousins has dropped back to pass. There was some play action here. And you can see Dunlap here. He's got, a free lane to Kirk Cousins, but he's not really going towards him. In fact, he's just kind of standing here because, yeah, he's in coverage. He is actually covering. You can see this guy right here. This guy's actually the tight end. I think his name is, I just had it in my head. I can't remember who it is, but the Vikings tight end, whoever it may be, he's actually covering him. So here's another play where you're taking probably your best pass rusher. I think he still is, personally. And you're putting him in coverage on a passing down. Kirk Cousins is back here, and you're not getting pressure on him, and your best pressure man is not even attempting to get pressure. And on this play, by the way, Kirk Cousins scrambles to his left a little bit. Dunlap kind of bites on the scramble, moves in, and Cousins dumps it to a wide open tight end for a first down. So Dunlap, he's not really a cover player. And need I remind you guys that Dunlap was in Cincinnati for a long time playing 4-3 defensive end, and he was great there. And what led to his messy departure from Cincinnati, as well as his drop-off as a player, is that the Bengals switched to a different defense and he couldn't play 4-3 end anymore, where basically he had to start doing things like covering. This is not Dunlap's game. Don't put him in these situations. Okay, one more. This is a little later in the game. I think it's actually the same drive. Dunlap once again drops back into coverage on this play. He is way back behind the line of scrimmage here. He's actually getting a chuck on a receiver running downfield. You can see that Cousins has already dropped back. He's actually about to throw the ball. Dunlap is nowhere near the quarterback. He is not even considering rushing the quarterback on this play. He's 3 yards off the line of scrimmage. He's about probably 11 or 12 yards away from the quarterback. There's no rushing the quarterback here. And I'll say it for the third time. Dunlap is probably your best pass rusher. You paid him a lot of money this offseason to bring him back so he could rush the passer. That's what he's done his whole career. What is going on here? Why are you taking him out of his best role? And to be clear, Dunlap had a lot of opportunities to rush the quarterback against the Vikings and was not that successful. He needs to step it up. He needs to get it together. He needs to start playing better football. He needs to make better use of his opportunities to rush a quarterback. But I don't think dropping him back into coverage is an effective way to mitigate that. I see that as something that's going to just make it even harder for him to start playing more effectively as a pass rusher. I see that as something that is just going to make the situation worse. So there were other plays in this game where defensive linemen dropped back into coverage. And I'm sure you guys remember that Rasheem Green dropped back into coverage a couple times against the Colts. And there were a couple examples against the Titans as well. So this is something that we do. We don't do it every play, but I feel like we're doing it too much. These are guys who I don't think can do this very well. And while we're here, I want to point out one more thing from this Vikings game. One final play. This is something from, I believe, right before the first half, if I remember correctly, or in the second quarter. This is a Rasheem Green I have circled here. And to be clear, Rasheem Green does rush Kirk Cousins on this play. He jumps at the snap and goes after the quarterback. So he is rushing the passer, which is what Rasheem Green should be doing. But the thing that stands out to me here a little bit is that he's standing up. He looks like a 3-4 outside linebacker on this play more than a 4-3 end. Now, I don't know. I'm not there at training camp every day. I'm not a coach. I concede all of that. But I don't see Rasheem Green ever being a stand-up lineman. I don't see him ever being like an outside linebacker. That doesn't strike me as his game. That doesn't strike me as a good use of his talents. So I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing him standing up. And I know on this play he ends up rushing the passer anyway, but I'm also thinking to myself, the fact that he's standing up at all indicates that we are still using him as this dual threat player where we feel like he can drop back into coverage and play like a linebacker and rush and play like an end. I'm not seeing it like that. I see him as a player who is best as an end and best playing on the line and best playing with his hand in the dirt. He does not have his hand in the dirt here. I think that's a problem. I'd like to see less of this, maybe none of this. That's really all I got. There are other elements of this defense that could be talked about when it comes to simplifying. I think that you could talk about some of the coverages need to be simplified. Maybe some of the linebacker assignments need to be simplified. Jordan Brooks has been benched twice in 2 games now because he's made mistakes. Maybe you just have to make it a little easier for him. Take away the opportunities to make mistakes. I don't know. But this is one area that I think is very clearly and obviously we're doing something wrong. Carlos Dunlap should not be dropping back into coverage 3 to 4 times in a game. He probably shouldn't even be doing it once. Alton Robinson should be allowed to rush the passer as much as possible. His talents, which I feel like are significant, are wasted trying to cover. He may as well be anybody else in the world trying to cover, as far as I'm concerned. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'm going to get out of here. Go Hawks. Here's a potential solution. And it's not the one I thought I would ever be suggesting with this team, but there it is. Simplify the defense. Make things easier for these players to just go out and play and see what happens. Because whatever you do against the 49ers this weekend, it cannot be worse than what I saw against the Vikings. See you later.